the University of Maryland called up my yeshiva. There was only 60 kids in the whole school that were coming to watch you play tonight. And that was one of the greatest college basketball teams of all time. They came to watch me play. And after one night, one game, they said, we're offering you a 4-year full athletic scholarship to join a powerhouse college basketball program. And I said, you're my dream team. This is the meeting I've been waiting for. I'm going to commit. I'm going to commit right away because this is like everything, but I'm never going to play on Shabbat.
You probably heard of the Jewish Jordan, but believe me, you don't know his true story. He opens up in this episode about his greatest success, failures, and battles he faced. This episode is in memory of Shimon David ben Yaakov Shleima, as well as Miriam Sarvas Yaakov Moshe. This episode is also refuah Shleima Yosef Chaim ben Devorah Chaya Golda. This episode is powered by Admire, WheelsToLease, Sprinkles Ice Cream, and Hiring for Less. Here we go. Tamir Goodman, thank you so much for being here.
I'm so happy to be here. A huge fan.
Thank
you for the opportunity. And kol hakavod for everything you're doing. And it's a pleasure to be here.
I appreciate it. Okay, so a lot to discuss. Could you take us back through your childhood? Were you always good at basketball? Were you always so tall? Take us through it.
Well, I grew up in Baltimore, Maryland, and I fell in love with basketball at a young age. Very passionate about the game. My older brothers played. And I guess my first breakthrough moment was I was playing against my brother, Reuven, who was 7 years older than me. And he won. And I came in the kitchen and I was really upset that I had lost. And my brother said to my mother, why does Tamir take basketball so seriously? Like, I'm older than him. I'm supposed to beat him. Like, why does he get so upset? And I just looked at my mother and I'm like, Ima, it's not just a game for me. Like, I really love this game. And I want to try to play in college and play professionally without playing on Shabbat. Like, I wanna make this happen.
Was it ever like done before you that like that idea was even thinkable? Like, there's the famous stories of baseball with, I don't know baseball well, but
Sandy Koufax.
Yeah, so. Like you have stories like that, but he also played on Shabbos though.
But I grew up on these amazing stories, and my father would read them to us. And I definitely drew tons of inspiration from that. I don't know if anyone's ever gotten a Division I scholarship without playing on Shabbat before. So I definitely a continuation of athletes. I can't say that, I definitely got tons of inspiration from them, but it's extremely hard to get a Division I scholarship and almost impossible, especially back then, to say I want that Division I scholarship and I'm not going to play on Jewish holidays or on Shabbat. It was an absolute miracle for that to absolutely happen and a journey to get there. And I'm forever grateful that it did. But that was like the first big breakthrough, was the fact that my mother looked at me, and even though she didn't really know anything about basketball, and she still doesn't really know too much about basketball, she just supported. Her eyes said, I got you. Whatever you need, we're going to support you. And that was like a huge breakthrough moment for me.
Which is, I guess, maybe not rare, but I don't know if it's so common that, a child has an idea that parents are so supportive, because generally parents want their kids to be happy, and also at least in a from home to, follow the path. And when someone starts saying ideas that are not even necessarily basketball, but something that's like different, like parents start to get nervous, and because they ultimately want what's best for their kid. And that, like, I guess, idea from your mother, like supporting no matter what, is very unconditional.
It was everything to me throughout my entire journey in so many ways. And I think like what was extra unique was that Coach Katz, there was a Jewish coach in our area, and my mother kind of said, look, I don't really know anything about basketball. Can you, take over for us, type of thing. And Torah, tells us that we should create for ourselves a mentor or a rabbi. And Coach Katz was that for me my entire life, and still is. And just the divine providence of growing up in a home like this and having a coach that believed in me more than I believed in myself is, you want to surround yourself with people that believe in you more than you believe in yourself. And having that and showing me the way, I just don't know if it would have happened had I grown up somewhere else or in a different time period. So a lot of divine providence that my journey, the roots of my journey, started off like this.
I imagine just throughout the entire world with any sports, like the ability to like reach those high ranks is so unlikely, because there's so many people and so much competition. Not even from a Jewish perspective. Did you get pushback from, whether it's family or friends or just people in your lives, that were like, listen, it's a nice idea, but so few people actually make it?
Yeah, I definitely heard some of that. And even, some of my teachers at school, like, why are you spending so much time on basketball? Realistically, like, this is never going to happen. But when I was 16, I think two things happened when I was 16. When I was 16, Coach Cass took me to play against college players. And I wasn't used to having people, steal the ball from me, block my shot, stuff like that. And it was happening. And I started crying playing there that night against the college players. And he came over to me and he's like, we don't have to do this. If you don't want to do it, let's not do it. So, if you don't want to do it, let's just go home right now. He's like, but if you want to do this, you're going to have to be able to play against this speed. You're going to have to be able to play against this strength. So you have to decide what you want. If you want to do it, you got to pick yourself up and get back out there. Otherwise, let's just go home. And I looked at him like, I want to do it. He's like, well, then stop crying, pick yourself up, go back out there. And I did. And he taught me how to be resilient and play against that speed and play against that strength. And I realized like, wow, I think I could do it. And then that same summer, I got invited to my first invitational camp. Invitational camp is where they invite the top high school recruits and all the Division I coaches to come watch you play. When I got to that camp, I was a curiosity. By the time camp was over, I already had 7 Division I offers. And after that camp, I realized, wow, I think Hashem is really with me. Hashem is going to help me live out my dream because these were supposed to be the best players in the country. And I had a really good week at camp. So that summer of age 16 was a big turning point for me. And realizing that, there's tons of competition out there. There's millions and millions of players trying to get those Division I scholarships. But I think I'm in good hands here and Hashem's with me.
And then right after that, then what happens?
So after that, I go into 11th grade and everything just explodes. I ranked the 25th best player in the country, getting scholarship offers. And then the University of Maryland called up my yeshiva. There was only 60 kids in the whole school that were coming to watch you play tonight. And that was one of the greatest college basketball teams of all time. And they came to watch me play. And after one night, one game, they said, we're offering you a 4-year full athletic scholarship to join a powerhouse college basketball program. And I said, you're my dream team. This is the phone call I've been waiting for, or the meeting I've been waiting for. I'm going to commit. I'm going to commit right away because this is like everything, but I'm never going to play on Shabbat. And we had 700 unique media requests after that week. I mean, the amount of media and TV, and I went from being like a kid that loved basketball to all of a sudden being so written. I think I was on the front page of the Washington Post like 11 days in a row, like so famous. Like it just happened so quickly. And then Sports Illustrated called and I sent an NBA photographer to my house. And during the photo shoot, I just stopped him and I said, I know you take pictures of basketball players, but this isn't about basketball. This is about representing the Jewish people and Israel. And I'd like to do that. And he's like, how do you, he wasn't Jewish. What do you have in mind? And even though I already davened that morning, I said, well, come to my room. And I took out my tefillin and put them back on. I'm like, this is how Jewish people pray. And that picture of me in Sports Illustrated wearing my tefillin, I'm almost 43 now. Almost anywhere I go in the world, people will stop me and say, they'll remember that picture. And it was just, everything was just moving so quickly and just so much media, so much.
Which is, I feel like it's unique in the frum world because the chance of someone becoming a celebrity is very unlikely in like our world. So, and maybe even in sports is more unlikely because I feel like most our fortes are like money and business. Like sports is never necessarily like the forte that we're known for. But it's so unique to just, be this frum kid and then all of a sudden overnight become like a celebrity and just be out there in the news. And like mentally, how was that for you?
It was very hard. It's not my personality. I think some of the things that were really hard were like at a young age, like I think I was like 16, 17 years old. Like if I had a bad night, it was like not just in the paper, it was like everywhere. If I had a bad shooting night, I remember one night I didn't want to go to the press conference after the game. And coach is like, you have to. And I'm like, well, what am I going to tell them? Like, let's just say you got shot really poorly tonight and you got to get back in the gym. And I learned at 17 years old to like face national media and say, look, I played really poorly tonight. I need to get back in the gym and keep working. And I guess there was a lot of things that were very challenging, especially at that time, and everything was in the media. And I think like learning to deal with that at a young age was very hard, especially some of the things that happened further on in my career. But I learned how to get up there and try to face it. So it wasn't my personality, and also dealing, facing the media, and then physically, like things were just, no one could, the gym, we couldn't fit in the high school gym anymore. We had to start renting, college arenas, and even there was no room in college arenas. They were sold out with lines down the block, and like ESPN's coming to the games, and 60 Minutes is coming to our high school games. We have a yeshiva of 60 boys. And eventually, like, it just got so crazy that like I had to transfer, and I had to transfer for my senior year, and I couldn't find a school that would accommodate me, with the Judaism and the basketball. And eventually I landed on Tacoma Academy, which was a Seventh-day Adventist Christian school, but they didn't play ball on Shabbat either. Seventh-day Adventists don't play on Shabbat either. So I transferred from yeshiva to predominantly African-American Christian school just for my senior year. And that came with a lot of challenges. But looking back at it now, it was a tremendous blessing for me, because academically, athletically, it really helped me a lot. I had to leave my comfort zone, and it really prepared me for some of the things that I was going to experience in college and professional basketball. So also think like, because I played well that year at the Christian school, I got invited to play at the Capital Classic All-Star game, and Hashem blessed me to win the MVP of that game. And that was a very special moment that I was able to do that with my kippah on against the best players in the country. And I think like that's one of the main reasons Hashem sent me to the Christian school.
Wow. Once you like told them that for the college that you're not going to play on Shabbos, was that like, and once they like finally accepted it, was the hurdle of not playing on Shabbos over, or did that challenge come up more as time went on?
So I returned the scholarship to Maryland. I told them that I can't play on Shabbat. And then Towson University called me up, and the coach was like, I'm not Jewish. Nobody on the team is Jewish, but the guys on the team asked me to come recruit you. They read about you in the paper, and they respect that you don't want to play on Shabbat. Can we learn more about your religion? And the coaches came over my house. My father, blessed his memory, came out with a Jewish calendar, and he literally just went over all the Shabbat times and the Chagim. And the coach took notes, and he spoke to the league and said, is there any way we could change the schedule for this kid? And it was a huge miracle that they did. And I got on campus. I was like, Coach, this is like, I can't believe you managed to do this. And he said, perfect timing. I want you to meet your roommate. And my roommate was center, 6'10" center. His name was Muhammad Fafana. He was a Muslim basketball player, dear friend and brother for life. So I went from like all boys yeshiva to graduating from a Christian school to now rooming with a Muslim basketball player and transitioning everything to playing college basketball at the Division I level. And was there challenges Shabbat? There were, and I learned about it actually very quickly, because my first holiday on campus was Sukkah. We prepared all the food, and I had a Sukkah, and it was Friday night Sukkah, and like there was like 20,000 students almost there on campus, and no one was going to be eating a Sukkah that night except for me. And I was excited to have everything going, and then I just remembered on Friday night, it was my first time, celebrating the Chagim on campus. I was like, "There's no Eruv here." Like, I can't carry my food from our dorm room on the 15th floor across campus into the Sukkah. And I just remember feeling so devastated, and like I felt like I was prepared, but I wasn't prepared. It was my first time going all the way through this. And then Muhammad's like, why do you keep looking out the window? And I'm like, we see on the side of campus, there's like a little teepee over there. He's like, yeah, what is that? I'm like, long story short, I got to eat in there tonight, and I'm not allowed to carry my food because there's no Eruv. I'm explaining this to him. He's like, well, am I allowed to carry the food? I said, yeah, why not? So he literally walked across campus with my challah and everything, almost 7 feet tall, ducked into the Sukkah, put my food down on the table, and that's how I was able to celebrate. So there were challenges, but because my teammates were so incredible, I was able to do it. I was able to play Division I basketball on a full scholarship without playing on Shabbat or any Jewish holidays.
Really cool. We're getting up to the best part, but are you familiar with the high cost of local hiring, where hourly rates can soar between $20 to $50? And let's not forget the challenge of finding a skilled employee who's immediately available. But what if there's a more cost-effective solution? Introducing Hiring for Less, your gateway to hiring dedicated full-time remote employees from overseas for just $7 an hour. That's totaling only $280 a week. Imagine having an employee who works a 9-to-5 schedule aligned with your time zone, cope with excellent English proficiency, and the specific job experiences you need. Hiring for Less isn't just about affordable hiring. They've successfully connected employees with remote experts in various fields, including customer service, real estate, bookkeeping, data entry, cold calling, photo video editing, architectural design, e-com assistance, personal secretarial work, and so much more. But Hiring for Less offers more than just recruitment. They guide you through retraining and communications best practices, ensuring your overseas employees seamlessly integrate into your team. Plus, there are no binding contracts, hidden fees, upfront costs, or recruitment charges. Simply outline your requirements, and Hiring for Less will match you with a skilled overseas professional for an unbeatable rate of $7 per an hour. Plus, if you mention Living L'Chaim, you'll get a bonus first week employees for 50% off. Call, text, or WhatsApp 845-682-0990. That's 845-682-0990, or contact them at hiringforless.com. And we're going to jump right back in. But first, running a yeshiva or nonprofit means endless paperwork, finances, and fundraising headaches. But what if all that back-end stuff could actually run smoothly? That's where Admire software comes in. For over 20 years, Admire has been the trusted system behind huge organizations like the Mir, Chai Lifeline, Hatzalah, and Tamir Shabbos, and so many more. It's a powerful all-in-one platform that handles the finances, fundraising, and operations so your team can focus on the mission, not the paperwork. And now, with their brand new modern design, Admire makes even the most complex back office work feel simple. The first school module is already live, and they're rolling out new features every month that save time, cut stress, and help your organization run smarter. If you're a yeshiva, kollel, or nonprofit ready to take your backend to the next level, visit admirepro.com today. Now back to this week's episode. You'd mentioned before, and again, I don't know as much about sports as I feel like I should. I was like regular yeshiva guy. They know so much about sports. But how much of basketball or just sports in general is mental and how much is physical? Because the physical is the obvious part of it, but it sounds like there's a lot of mental parts to the game.
That is such a great question. Coach Blatt, David Blatt, who was the first Israeli to coach in the NBA, he would tell us at practice that it's 90% mental, 10% physical.
Wow.
But the question that I often get is, doesn't Judaism get in the way of basketball? Judaism get in the way of your dreams? And I say absolutely not, because Judaism gives you the blueprint for everything in life, including athletics. Because everything we do, we're uplifting for Hashem, the way we eat, the way we sleep. You know, think about how we're constantly strengthening our minds, whether it's learning Torah, whether it's the holidays, whether it's like everyday working, refining ourselves, our character traits. Like that's what Judaism is like constantly like trying to grow. And that's exactly what you need for basketball. Every single day you need consistency. Like, why does Hashem ask us to daven the same exact tefillot 3 times a day over same words? Isn't it boring? No, Hashem is teaching us greatness. Like, you want to be great, you need consistency. You want to be able to shoot, you got to get in the gym as much as possible. Mentally, like the game is so hard. Like there's pressure, there's fans, you're losing, you're missing shots, you're turning the ball over. Judaism teaches us how to pick ourselves up as quickly as possible every single day and grow and move forward. These are all things that you need in basketball. So, yes, it's 90% mental, but I feel like Judaism was the greatest blessing I could have had for being a basketball player. This worked perfectly for me.
It's amazing. Okay, so take us through the rest of your career as you're going through.
Yeah, so thank God I had a really good freshman year. Unbelievable freshman year. My teammates would go out of their way to help me. We won a lot of games. We built an incredible brotherhood. I was living in my dream. It was so great. I struggled, tremendously academically. I'm very dyslexic. I could barely read, write, math, anything with numbers. And I barely passed my SATs to even be able to play college basketball. And here I am in college, starting as a freshman, Dean's List, being able to learn Torah. Everything was perfect. And then, unfortunately, I got a phone call on spring break. I was my head coach, and I knew something was wrong, because why would coach be calling me? And he's like, I got some bad news. I said, what's wrong, coach? He's like, there's going to be a press conference tomorrow, and I didn't want you to find through the media, so I wanted to tell you personally. I said, what is it? He said, I just been fired and our entire staff has been fired. And I don't think that you should stay at Towson because I know who they hired instead of me. And I was so crushed at that moment because I felt like I had gone through so much in my life, giving the scholarship back to Maryland, having to transfer my senior year and graduate from a Christian school, like so many ups and downs. And I finally found a home at Towson, and they told me they were building the team around me going into my sophomore year. And to hear this news, that was really, really crushing for me. And I didn't listen to coach. And I decided that like the school went out of their way to accommodate me. It would be rude if I transferred now, go play at a different school. But coach was right. And the new coach came in, and I noticed very quickly from day one, I wasn't going to be able to play there as a Jewish athlete. And
well, what he was like straight up anti-Semitic?
It was just started off with a lot of negativity with things that he was saying, just kept on getting worse and worse. And I tried to call a meeting with him, showed up an hour and a half late, which you never do in college basketball. Then I called a meeting with him and the athletic director. And I said to the athletic director, like, I'm really scared. I don't think coach wants me here. And he said, no, I can assure you everything's going to be fine. And unfortunately, very soon after that, got assaulted. Really negative experience in the locker room. Thank God the police were there. They busted in. They took me to the police station, and I never played another game of college basketball again. I was beyond broken, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, because all the training, all the years, you work so hard, you push yourself to tears in training, and then someone took that away from me. I couldn't wrap my head around that, or heart, and I just broke down emotionally, physically, spiritually, just so torn. And I left. I quit basketball.
Who's your go-to? Like, who's the first person you called after that incident?
I called my parents, my father, blessed memory, who I loved, and I was very close to him. They were great. They were trying to help as much as possible and very supportive. But again, like going back to the media, like the next day in the paper, nobody knew the truth of what happened. It said that I was weak. I should have been stronger and been able to handle these things. But no one knew what was like leading up to all this and the meetings and what was going on in practice. And like to see that the next day, it was that I was broken. It was too much for me. I couldn't, and it was so global. Everyone's talking about it.
Right.
And I was broken. I was broken. And then one day, I don't know where I got the courage. I just woke up. I'm like, okay, losing my identity, not being who I am, quitting basketball, that's not helping me feel better. And I can't understand why this happened to me. But what I can understand, something that did make sense, is that Hashem invests in everyone in this world. And Hashem believes in them, and everyone has their mission. My mission is to try to make a Kiddush Hashem through basketball. And I can't let someone take my mission away. Like, that's not what Hashem wants. And I got to find a way to pick myself up here. And I did. And I started training, got back on the court, started like mentally just doing everything I needed to do, get back to who I was really supposed to be. And then I got a phone call from Maccabi Tel Aviv. And they said, we read about you in the paper. You want to come play professionally in Israel? And I said, that would be a dream come true. They came to America to meet me at Chelsea Piers. I signed a 3-year contract to turn professional. I came to Israel, and it was incredible. I was living with my Savta. She was a Holocaust survivor, playing professional basketball. I finally felt like I got my life back on track. And I was really happy to be in Israel. But very soon into my rookie season, I got traded. And again, I guess to feel like that disappointment after everything that I'd gone through and pick myself back up, that was really hard for me. But looking back, it was an unbelievable miracle, because only after I got traded did I meet my wife. And that was and is the greatest blessing of my life, because I just feel like the blessing that God gave me in meeting her was and is just the greatest miracle. I still can't wrap my head around it every day, like how Hashem did that and how amazing of a blessing my wife is for me in my life. So a lot of challenges, but sometimes when we feel like we're going down the wrong way on a one-way street, if it just means like we're one step closer to our blessing, and that's what happened with me, and having to go through everything I went through in college and then being traded right away my rookie season, because ultimately it took me to my biggest blessing.
It's wild because I think we have all these plans throughout our life, and we're supposed to have plans. We're supposed to have a trajectory, what we think is going to happen. And there's so many times where Hashem's like, no, that's not the best plan for you. And in the moment, we don't know. Like you had this a few times in your life, but like looking back and saying like, if you didn't go through all of that, you wouldn't have met your wife or been with your, like, it's incomparable. And yes, if you asked 15-year-old you, 20-year-old you,
right,
like you'd be like, are you crazy? Of course, let me follow this dream. But like, hey, if you follow that dream, you won't get
right
whatever you can't even dream about.
Yeah, I think about this all the time, because on the one hand, like, you want to dream, like, you know, like we have like this mission of like, me and Hashem, I got this dream, here's what we got. But Hashem is seeing past, present, and future, and our minds just, it's too much for our minds to understand that concept. But on the other hand, there were a lot of dreams that I set for myself, and it seems like they weren't working, but through resilience and going forward, you just say like, Hashem isn't saying no. Hashem is just saying there's a little more growth here, either physically or emotionally or spiritually, that you need to go through, and eventually you're going to get there. You know, whether it's like in product development or anyone building a company, or, you know, sometimes a no just means you're getting closer, and Hashem's just like a coach, like correcting your shot. Like you're not ready for just yet. You got to like make a couple adjustments. And once you make those adjustments, you'll be ready, and you'll be thankful that you made those adjustments, because now you're ready for the big leagues. So like sometimes like we have these dreams and like, no, it's like not going the way we see it at all. And then like, okay, Hashem, you see past, present, future. Other times I feel like, no, we have to be like extra resilient, make sure this dream happens, do every single thing we can possible. And then a lot of times they do come true too. So it's pretty cool how life is.
It's definitely true. I saw a clip where someone's like, I'll change the idea of no for you. If I told you after 20 no's, you're going to get $20 billion in business, let's say.
Right.
Every no you get, you're like, great, I'm a step closer now. And it really does shift that. I saw someone comment on the clip like, I'm up to my millionth no, like something like that.
Yeah, but you know what? There's like amazing continuations. And the sixth Lubavitcher Rebbe said something that I think about almost every day, and is like, no hard work goes without some type of growth. If you there's some type of growth, whether it might be physical, it might be emotional, you don't know, right? But it, you know, I for example, like launched a basketball product many years ago, got it into the NBA.
You're referring to the net,
before the net.
Oh, before. Okay,
yeah,
so what is it?
Before the net, it was called Zone 190, and you know, make a long story short, we had great success early, got in the NBA, and we sold it to NBA teams and stuff like that. And then unfortunately, like, even though we had a patent, a company basically went out and made their own. And, you know, that looked like a complete no, and it's over, and it's not. But like, I learned so much of that process that now allowed me with VivNet, you know? And so it was a no, but it was also a springboard. So it's interesting how Hashem does that. I think oftentimes it's because Hashem is saying, there's more potential in you. I don't want you to settle, and keep going. And I'm going to help you, guide you to where your ultimate potential is, and not sell yourself short.
Really cool. And you know, it's interesting about you, and I think I know the answer, but I'm curious, like, did you ever see yourself as like businessman / like product developer ever in your life? Like,
I never saw that, but when I got hurt, I called my wife in the locker room. I'm like, Hashem doesn't want me to play anymore. Like, there's no way I could play. For 7 years, I've been coming, you know, injury, surgery, physical therapy. That last injury, I just knew I couldn't play anymore. I called my wife and I told her. She told me the most beautiful thing. She said, you know what? You're going to be doing the same thing. You're just going to be wearing a different uniform. And that was the most brilliant answer anyone could have ever told me. So everything that I do is still kind of like along the terms of trying to make a Kiddush Hashem through basketball. So there's that. But on the other hand, because I was so dyslexic, and I am so dyslexic, parts of people who are dyslexic, like our brain is exercising parts of our brain that other people don't even need to use throughout the day. You know, because we're compensating and like we're exercising our brain. And it's like creativity and coming up with solutions and coming up with ideas. And it's just like, it's how we survive, because we can't read or write or do basic numbers, and we're constantly mixing all these other things around. So it's kind of along the lines what my wife said. It's still the same thing. You're going to make a Kiddush Hashem. So that like, that aligned with me really well, together with like everything basketball taught me, you know, the work ethic, the resilience, the time management, surrounding yourself with really positive people. And then like knowing that my creative brain, like what gave me confidence on the court was like being dyslexic. Like I could see things other people can't see. I could react the way other people aren't reacting. I see my teammates are open even before they're open. Like, so taking that same thing and the same intent and moving forward. And, you know, that's why I was so excited about this book, is because, you know, the book that just came out is, you know, thankful to PJ Library that they saw this too, that there's so many kids out there now, that thousands of kids that are struggling with learning difficulties, and it's crushing. It's crushing. Like when you find out like you have a learning difficulty, it's crushing for the parents, it's crushing for the kids. And then it's like, no. Yeah, there's like challenges, but on the other hand, Hashem gave you some type of superpowers. Where are those superpowers? Let's find them, work with them, and go out there and change the world. And, you know, so that's kind of been the energy of my career. And I'm thankful now with the book and the products that, like my wife said, doing the same thing, or just wearing a different uniform.
That's so special. My favorite part of this week's episode with Tamir Goodman is coming up. But you know what's also coming up? Simchas Torah. Maybe birthdays. Maybe you have a Kiddush coming up. You name it. Every Simcha deserves something sweet and yummy. And that's where Sprinkles ice cream and cakes comes in. If you haven't tried them yet, Sprinkles makes the kind of cakes and dessert that actually make people stop mid-conversation and go, wait, who made this? And I mean in the best way possible. Whether you're celebrating a birthday, hosting guests for Yantiv, or you just want that yummy dessert for Shabbos, Sprinkles has you covered. Their cakes are fresh, rich, and absolutely beautiful, from layered chocolate fudge masterpieces to creamy, colorful desserts that look as good as they taste. So if you're celebrating, make it unforgettable. Visit any local kosher supermarket and get the best Sprinkles ice cream or Sprinkles dessert today. Because life's too short for plain dessert. Make it Sprinkles. They actually sent me a few of their cakes and ice creams, and my son went to town on them. Let's just say we finished it before Shabbos even started. They're delicious. Now, before we jump right back in, most people overpay by thousands when it comes to getting a car, between hidden fees, inflated showroom pricing, and shady upsells. The average car buyer can spend $3,000 to $5,000 more per lease or purchase than they should. And that's why I use WheelsToLease. For over 35 years, they've made car buying simple, transparent, and way more affordable. No pressure, no showroom games. Just tell them what you want, new or used, lease or finance, and they'll hunt down the best deal on any make or model and deliver it right to your door. Yeah, but my grandfather used to use this place and I don't really like them, but I have to use them. That's not true. You could use WheelsToLease. I've used them and I sent friends to them, and everyone says the same thing. I can't believe how much I saved and how easy it was. So before you spend more than you have to, reach out to WheelsToLease at 718-871-8715 or send them an email at inspire@wheelstolease.com. Maybe you want to send them a fax. Well, you can't, because I don't know if they have a fax, but you could go to the website at wheelstolease.com/inspire. Save time, save thousands, drive smarter. WheelsToLease. Now back to this week's episode. I like to ask people this question, and I forgot to mention it to you before, which I like to do, so you could think about it. But maybe off the cuff, you'll have an answer. If there was one person from history that you could spend an hour with.
Oh, it's no doubt for me.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Yeah, it's Lubavitch Rebbe. Like, I mean, I was fortunate enough to go to the Rebbe as a kid. You know, going to Lubavitch Rebbe's Lag BaOmer parade and seeing the Jewish pride. I have a picture actually of me wearing my Jordans, like walking past the Rebbe. I already love basketball more than anything in this world, but like, just seeing the Jewish pride and combining the Jewish pride with the basketball and everyone holding up their signs about Shabbat and Shabbos candles and whatever it is, it just, everything fused together for me. Like, I want to be a proud Jewish basketball player. Mm-hmm. You know, I want to, and just the whole Rebbe's teachings of, you know, making a dwelling place for Hashem, each person in their own way through their unique physical talents, that just like was my whole career. Like that's the essence. And I always think about the Rebbe, always miss the Rebbe. And there's no doubt that if I had an hour, that's who I'd want to spend it with. And I'm like so amazed. I'm here in New York today and one of my kids is with me. And just like on my way over here, he just wrote me a message. He's like, I'm going into the Rebbe's room today. And I was just like, wow, how did that like pass on to him, you know, or to the kids and I just think like it almost made me cry. So yeah, if I had 1 hour, it would I would have loved to spend an hour with him.
Very beautiful. So commonly you're known as the Jewish Jordan. Did you ever meet Michael Jordan?
I never met Michael Jordan, and I don't know if this is true, but at the Capital Classic game that I won the MVP that I was talking about earlier, that was when he owned the Wizards. It was the same time period. So I was down on the court and the media was asking me questions, and one of the reporters told me, Michael's upstairs talking about you. So I can't say if it's true, but so I never like shook his hand or anything. But they said he was talking about me that night. It could be that he was in the building because he owned the Wizards and we played on the Wizards floor. But if I was to ever meet him, I would first of all apologize about the Jewish Jordan stuff. I would say that I never brought that on myself. It's like it just so I would apologize about that. But on the other hand, I would say thank you to him, because the way things were back then before social media was like, you saw one play. Like I saw Michael Jordan do something crazy. I had to put it in my brain and in my heart, because you only got to see it once. Maybe the next day it's on SportsCenter for a quick second. It's not like now where you could go on whatever and watch the move over and over again. Right. So we planted it in our brain and our mind, and I'm outside living with Michael Jordan inside of me saying, what move did I see? And just working on it for hours and hours and using my imagination for hours and hours. So he like literally lived within us like every day. It gave me so much motivation and inspiration, because you couldn't see it again. You had that one shot and you had to like put it inside, basically. And so I just would thank him for all the years of motivation, because we didn't have social media. Like the kids could go on YouTube, they saw a great move and practice that move, watch it, practice. Like for us, it like lived within us. And I think that's why like a lot of people today, like old school nostalgic basketball players, like it's hard for them to like compare to modern players now, because we like lived with the players because it was before social media. And that's also why like in a lot of ways, old school media was in certain way more powerful than new media, because in the new media, you're bombarded with like a million things. Back then you read one article, you saw one move, you lived with it for a long time. It's
such a good point. We are totally overwhelmed with all the social media and everything, that it's losing its value. I mean, it's like that with everything, movies, TV shows. Like I remember back in the day, like growing up, like Seinfeld, everyone was watching Seinfeld. Now there's a trillion shows that people don't even know about. But maybe for the plus side, more people are getting jaded by it, and they're like, okay, there's one Torah, like it's.
Yeah, there obviously there is nothing, like Torah. I mean, it's like, I think about this all day. Like I'm a big fan of Rabbi YY, and I have been for like so many years, because when I would travel, I was lonely. I'm like the only Jewish basketball player. I'm playing around the world. And this was just like when that first iPod, I think it was called, was coming out. And I remember like playing in Russia and Ukraine. I'm playing in Ukraine and I'm able to listen to this Torah class, like in the middle of, I was in Mariupol, like where the war is now.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not even homesick. I'm listening to this Torah. Like, and almost since that day, all the way till here, like my favorite thing is working out and listening to Torah at the same time. There's nothing in the world could give you that. And nothing in the world could like every single day have like new lessons in depth. And like, and especially for me, who's like dyslexic, all of a sudden be able to listen, like the breakthrough of all these audio and obviously what you're doing, listening to the inspiration, especially for people like me, like used to go to school and surrounded by books. I can't read these books. Like I'm a failure. But now, so this is one way that I love the media, and especially what you're doing is like you could learn Torah, you could listen, you could get inspiration to people who can't read like me. Like it's great like that. But like, yeah, there's something about being overly bombarded with this stuff, but there's a balance in what you're doing, and the right way to do it is to use it, in a positive way. And I think, going back to the 90s, there definitely were movies that were along those lines. Like I tell my kids to watch Rudy, stuff like that. I get so cry every time I watch Rudy, So there are those inspirational movies. But it's like everything else, you got to uplift it. You got to uplift the media, just like you're doing here. So
thank you. Your original plan to, join the NBA and play, like, can't imagine that living in Israel was part of that plan.
You know what? Like in basketball, they say like, if you're like playing in the playoffs, you can't worry about like a best of five. You have to take it. We say win the day. You got to win one game and move forward. So on the one hand, I had that basketball mentality. I don't have like this. My first goal was, to play Division I on scholarship and professionally without playing on Shabbat. But at the same time, I wasn't too controlling. I think like when we're too controlling, you're not leaving a lot of space for Hashem. When you're like a little bit more open, you're leaving more space for Hashem. So I had that. But injuring my knee my first pro season was so devastating. And even subconsciously still today it is for me. Like, thank God I'm happy, Baruch Hashem, but not being able to play basketball when I was supposed to be at the height of my career, that is not what I anticipated. That was a huge, and still is, like, because when I dream at night, I'm like, I'm playing again. It almost always comes back to that. And I wake up, I'm like, dude, you're not playing. And like, so I could tell like a part of me is still really hurt from that subconsciously. But on the other hand, in the physical world, like I know 100% that if I would have stayed healthy, I would have had better statistics, but I wouldn't have reached my potential as a person. My injuries made me much more sensitive. They made me a much better father, a much better husband. Everything I'm doing, like, it's because of my injuries. It gave me a huge sensitivity. Like, I'm coaching thousands of kids. I couldn't have coached the kids that are like struggling the way they're struggling had I not lost my dream. So it's like, yeah, Hashem, what do you need from me? Okay, you let me live out my dream on the court. That was great. But Hashem was like saying, but I need you to be sensitive to kids now. I need you to coach the next generation. I need you to everything I'm involved in now. And I wouldn't have done that without my knee injury. So I tried to stay like non-controlling and just win each day and see where it takes me. But I thought for sure I'd be able to play longer. I wasn't prepared to get injured and so quickly into my pro career. And then I really had to pick myself up. I had to finish college. I didn't know anything. All I knew was playing basketball. Like, I dedicate my whole life to basketball, and all of a sudden I can't play basketball anymore. Yeah, without my wife, I would have never been able to overcome that. I just want to put in context, because like you unfortunately hear, like I heard on the radio when I listened to the radio, so it was like 15 years ago or something like that, there was this investor or banker who lost billions of dollars. He still had billions of dollars, but he lost billions of dollars and he killed himself. And they were explaining, I think there's like a therapist on there explaining that, like, it's not about the money. He felt like he lost who he was, like that trust, that, and that was who he built himself up to be. So like you're talking about, like your life was being a frum basketball player, and now you couldn't be a frum official, you can still play basketball and still be frum, but you couldn't have that. And you had that potential, and like you had the skill set, and like, so to have that ripped away from you, God forbid, I hope you wouldn't end it, but I'm saying that challenge, like, I don't know if so many people go through such a drastic challenge like that, of like, hope. I mean, we all do to a certain extent, of like hoping and dreaming, and then it not working out to some extent, and like then shaking up, like, wait, if I'm not that, then am I me? Right. And especially, like, most people get a little bit older when they, let's say they want to be a doctor or a lawyer or whatever. So they work around the clock, they're 17, they're in high school, whatever. But like this with sports, it's like from age 5 or 6, you're in the gym. Like when other friends, like I would push myself to tears in training every single day. And then when that gets taken away from you, it's really devastating. But one time I was in the locker room, I'm not going to say the team, or I had a chance once to play with extreme superstar, had everything going for him, physically, everything, financially, everything. And I saw him in the locker room. He was drunk. I'd get there early because I had learned. That's how I changed, and I learned. To me, that was the calming most way to go practice. I got there early. I'm about to learn, and I see him in the locker room. He's drunk and he's like crying, and I'm like, "What's wrong, man?" Like I'm thinking in my brain, like you got everything going on for you. And he's like, let me tell you something. He's like, when you have a dream of materialism, and then the materialism doesn't make you happy anymore, it's the most depressing thing in the world. So you want to become a pro, you get that. You want to get that fancy car, you got that. You want to get whatever the materialism is, you invested and you got all that, and then that stuff doesn't make you happy anymore. He's like, it's really devastating and depressing. And that's exactly what he explained to me in the locker room. And I just thought at that moment, I'm so thankful to be Jewish, because with Judaism, you're attaching yourself to Hashem, which is like infinite. It's like an infinite growth. It's infinite love. It's infinite spirituality. It doesn't stop at like materialism. There's no limit. It's like you're in a space of limitlessness. I don't know if that's the word or not, but so of course, like this was really devastating for me. A part of me is, like you say, like I'm a basketball player and I can't play anymore. But on the other hand, it like helped me attached to this, you know, Yeridah Torah Chaliyah, like the spiritual like growth even more, specifically because I couldn't play anymore. And it's like more about what Hashem wants from me instead of like what I want from Hashem. So it's hard. It's hard, but thank God every single day I get to do exactly what I want to do, living in Israel with my wife and 5 kids and doing so many incredible things through basketball, in the chesed side and the entrepreneurship side. And, you know, I have an incredible job at Fabric, you know, head of sports there. Like I'm so thankful. Like I couldn't be any happier. But subconsciously, I guess like when I'm not able to control my thoughts as much, I'm still hurt by that. But I'm still on the court and I get to coach. And in certain ways, like coaching is more fulfilling than playing because I could look back at all the hard things that I went through and say, hey, now I know I went through that. I learned something there so that this player doesn't have to go through the same thing. And it makes me really happy to see the next generation of Jewish basketball players hopefully not have to go through what I went through and have amazing careers. And I see it happening. Like our players, or the young Jewish players are, I think like the Jewish world in general parents need to prepare ourselves. We have to like realize like we need to educate ourselves on raising like elite athletes in the Jewish space because it's happening and it's happening very quickly. And the parents have a huge role in this, balancing the Judaism with the basketball and the emotional side of basketball, understanding like how to talk to a kid after a good game, good practice, bad practice, balancing all this with schoolwork. Like our community really needs to get ready for this because it's happening very quickly. These kids are very talented and they're getting more and more talented, younger and younger. And we have to be prepared as a community.
Before I let you go, because I know you do need to catch your next flight, but I have to ask. I asked you about Michael Jordan, but I also have to ask you about Yehoshaphat, Amari Stoudemire. Are you guys boys? Do you know each? Yeah,
of course we know each other.
I'd imagine, but you never know in this space.
Especially when he was playing in Yerushalayim, and I'm glad to see that he's going from strength to strength. I don't know how this has happened over the years, but for some reason, Hashem has allowed me to have relationships with a lot of the Jewish athletes, and I cherish it. I'm so thankful that I have great relationships with the Jewish athletes.
Is there like a secret WhatsApp group that you guys are on?
Not a secret, but just somehow along the way we connect. And I really believe the world is about relationships. Hashem created the world for us to have relationships with Hashem and other people. So for me, the Jewish sports world, I'm thankful. I love those relationships because I feel like a lot of good comes out of it, hopefully for other people.
Last question. If you gave advice to a kid who's going through a struggle, could be he's struggling with dyslexia, could be struggling because he had a dream and the dream didn't work out, what advice would you give?
That challenges are our springboards. Hashem's not giving us a challenge to break us. Hashem's giving us a challenge as a springboard for us to reach our true potential. And we need to be resilient and we need to do everything we can. We need to take care of our heart. We need to take care of our mind. We need to take care of our body. We need to get the proper rest, get the proper Torah study in, surround ourselves with the right people. And we will see that almost always when we overcome that challenge, it's going to take us to a height that we could have never imagined. And then we smile and say, thank you, Hashem. You really did know better than I thought I knew about myself.
Really beautiful. Okay. For those who want to check out more what you're doing, where's the places, where's the websites for the book here's your shout out.
So the book is Live Your Dream. You could get that PJ Library.
And we'll have links for anything that you're talking about now.
Yeah. And everything else is Tamir Goodman. And for Fabric, it's fabric.space. That's a sports tech mixed reality company. And for my net, it's avivsports.com. It's first ever antimicrobial and moisture wicking basketball net with advertising.
That is a mouthful for you.
Yeah. So the ball is gross during the games. It's slippery and it's full of bacteria. So when you put the ball through our net, it disinfects the ball. It dries it 11 times more than a standard net. And you could advertise on the net because all eyes are on the net. So instead of advertising all over the arena, now you could advertise exactly where everyone's watching. And thank God we have some really exciting opportunities for the net right now. And glad that I can make a Kiddush Hashem through basketball again, even though I can't physically play. So thank you, first of all. I also want to thank all the listeners. I'm just like you. I'm at home listening and being inspired. So on behalf of all listeners, thank you. And everyone that comes on the show, thank you for all the inspiration that you provide when you come on the show. And If I could ever help, that's my main thing. Like if I could ever help anybody with dyslexia stuff, with the book, with anything, with basketball, with parenting for your kids that may want to be elite athletes. Like if there's anything I could ever help anybody, please feel free to reach out to me. I will get back to you as soon as I can.
Amazing. Okay. Tamir Goodman, thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you.
I love this episode and I hope you did too. If you made it this far, please leave the word legend in the comments because that's who Tamir is. And before I get to my final words, we have so many incredible guests coming up this winter season. So stay tuned. I am so excited. Thanks again to my friends at Admire, WheelsToLease, Sprinkles Ice Cream, and Hiring for Less. And of course, when you support our supporters, it supports us. I say the word support a lot, but you know what I mean. Now, Tamir Goodman had one dream, to play Division I basketball, and he was offered a full scholarship to the University of Maryland, one of the top programs in the country. But there's one problem. Their games were on Shabbos, so he turned it down. He gave up what the world called success to stay true to what he believed in. And it makes you wonder, how many of us would do that? How many of us would give up our biggest dreams to keep Shabbos? Tamir showed that real greatness isn't measured in points or trophies, it's measured in conviction. Because when you hold on to your values, even when it costs you everything, that's when you've already won. Remember, inspiration's everywhere. L'chaim. Please share this episode.
Living L'chaim.